everyone, this is Lisa Marie from Artistry by Lisa Marie. Welcome to the studio. As always, links to download this page and also descriptions of the colors that I'm using and everything will be in the video description. Alright, right off the bat, I am using my pan pastels, and it might look messy, but there actually is a reason to my madness. I'm having a lot of fun, first of all, which is like the main point for coloring, I think. But also, I'm going to be trying a new technique today. So that's why I am making a bit of a mess on the paper. First, I've got to get on, though, my layer or coat of colors. I started with black, and then there's the blue over that. Just because if I only do black, I don't know, it looks kind of bland. I like having a bit more texture with the colors, a bit more depth with the colors, and that dark blue blends really nicely with the black to create kind of that bluish, smoky look. Almost done. Gonna do a bit of blending there. And I actually use makeup blenders when I apply my pan pastels. If they're delicate enough to go on my face, they're delicate enough to go on paper. Love that pan pastels are erasable. You saw me right there just finishing up some edges before I get started. Now that I have my layer and coating. And this is what I'm doing. Okay, so it is called a technique. It's a technique called subtractive drawing. Subtractive drawing is when you put a layer of color over a page, usually charcoal, and then you draw with an eraser. This technique was used a lot by the old Renaissance artists. It kind of helps perfect the mastery of a technique or a concept called chiaroscuro. It's basically light and dark. So if you can master lighting and shading, then you can make some really great works of art. And what I'm doing here is just playing with the lighting of glass, the highlights of glass. So instead of drawing or coloring the shadows in the glass, I'm drawing and coloring the light. Super fun. I was very excited to do this technique and to try it out with pan pastels. And I love that eraser. I'll put a link to that eraser in the video description. So if anyone else really wants it, you can have one too. But you can see right off the bat, as I'm doing this, it's really making that glass pop off of that dark background coat that I did with the pan pastel. And it helps that I already have, my grayscale drawing underneath as my guide. So I can just follow the lines that I already drew when I did the original coloring page drawing. And there I have a really fine bristled paintbrush, and that's how I just get all the eraser markers off. And there's my nice little subtractive drawing. Now what I'm going to be doing is more of an additive drawing technique on the cork and on the cat. So for the cork, I'm just going to do dark, medium, and light colors, but I'm applying them in gentle swirls, and that'll give me a bit of texture, but I'm layering my colors together. So first I started with a darker, soft brown, now medium, and now it's going to be a lighter, but I'm just layering them right over each other, those gentle swirls of color, to make a really soft cork look. I was kind of hoping that soft cork image would be, kind of a nice next to the shining, shimmering glass, which has a bit more of a crisp look. I like contrast. Then I'm taking the same colors that I used in the cork, and I'm putting a bit of those in the glass itself. So this would be additive again. So before it was subtractive when I was doing all the erasing. Now I'm going to be adding color. So I'm adding a bit of color into the glass, and the glass is, it's reflecting a bit the colors around it. So the color of the background is showing through, and now the color of the cork is going to show a bit right up there. And I wanted the glass to have kind of a tinted look. So right now it just looks almost completely transparent because you can see the background color so well. So what I'm doing is I'm taking a bit of a soft purple. It's actually lavender, but a soft purple, and just doing a very, very gentle grazing of that purple color, that purple tint in the glass. It'll differentiate it just a bit from the background. And this cat drawing, I love doing this cat drawing with the mom cat and the baby cat. It's actually part of a series that I'm working on right now, kind of a love letter in a bottle concept, love letter to moms. Just really enjoying drawing the series and really having fun finding ways of painting glass and drawing and coloring glass. Okay, so there you can see my hand's a little bit further away from the tip of the pencil, and that's to make sure I don't press too hard when I'm applying the color, because I want it to be a very gentle touch of color. And it's way easier to do a touch of color when your hand isn't very close to the tip. So up there, I'm pressing a little bit harder. My hand is closer to the tip of the pencil. And again, it's not a dark color. That's a very light powder blue. Blending very gently with some of the whites, some of the purple. Just gentle addition of color to differentiate that glass from the background. Also helps smooth the surface of the glass a little bit more. You can see the background has that really nice kind of powdery, cloudy texture, and now by smoothing the surface of the glass with the pencils, again, see my hand is far away so it doesn't press down too hard. So I'm smoothing the surface of the glass just a bit to differentiate it. And then, if I really want some sections to, pop or stand out, get my white pencil out, do some white highlights. And I love that Pastel lets me use colored pencils right over the top. These are Prismacolor colored pencils, super accessible, very affordable. Everyone knows them. And that's why I use them to color. Getting a nice crisp edge. And resharpening. That is one thing. When you want to do a nice crisp edge or a crisp line, you have to resharpen your pencil a lot. But it's worth it to get a nice crisp technique. Moving my pencils around, which means I'm shifting focus to a new thing. So now we're doing pure additive. Before I subtracted to get the lines, now I'm just adding color. So a bit of Pastel on the cat, but only in the shadowy areas, is going to help me quickly build up that sense of volume. Right in the shadows, just a nice quick layer of color. That is an eyeshadow applicator. Again, if it's soft enough to go on my face, it's soft enough to go on paper. And just quick bits of color in the shadowy spots. And then I start with my pencils. And I start, again, with Grayscale, I like to do dark, medium, and light. I like to say Grayscale is as easy as 1, 2, 3, dark, medium, and light. So I'm starting with my darker brown, and I'm just blocking out more of those shadows that I already blocked out with the Pastel. But now, instead of just sweeping color, I'm doing lines of color. Because of the fur texture, and I want to keep that fur texture, I'm doing quick dashes, quick lines of color in the direction of the fur. I'm once again letting the original drawing guide my way. I'm just sort of tracing over the fur lines, the fur texture that's already there with my pencil. And that's how I'm going to make sure I keep that fur texture while building up that sense of volume, the sense of a three-dimensional shape. Bit of pink in the ears and nose, of course. And then I go for a medium. So I had a dark, now I'm using a medium color. I really wanted the Cork and the cats to be warm, especially with that blue, that dark blue and the purple background. I really wanted the warmth to come through the cats, so they kind of look like they're glowing a little bit. I just thought it would be a nice bit of contrast and kind of help bring them to life a little bit more visually. The paper that I'm using is cardstock paper. I print at home all the time, so I'm lucky I get to choose my own paper that I color on. And I like heavier paper. I like paper that has a little bit of extra tooth in it or a little bit of extra texture. That way I can do fun stuff like this. I can layer my pan pastels and my pencils and do erasing. I can just play a lot more with the paper, and it can kind of take the abuse. It can take the beating of all the different things that I do. So here you can see the next lighter color, and what I like to think too is my medium tones are kind of a bridge. They connect my shadows to my lighter areas, and I'm letting the white of the paper for the moment be the lighter area while I build up, you know, my shadows and my highlights, and I'm just going right over all those layers of color. Again, still just dashes of line, dashes of color to preserve that texture in the cat's fur. But the light layers of color are blending together on the paper. And there's my super favorite. I love this color, Cream. It is an amazing highlight color. So now I'm going over the white, but that cream is so soft and so warm. It blends beautifully with those other warm colors that I already have in play. Quick dashes still, keeping that sense of fur. I already blocked out my shadows, and by doing that, I naturally have my highlights blocked out, so I know where to put my light cream color. White pencil for just some finishing touches of highlight. Still just doing the dashes though, and I'm always moving in the direction of the fur. Look at that cute kitten. And a touch of white highlight on the opposite side there, you know, next to the shadows, it's called a reflective light. It sort of really helps add a sense of realism. Moving around again, shifting focus. Okay, now what I'm going to do is work a little bit on those eyes. And the eyes are kind of small, so they don't need a bunch of color. But what I do is still the same concept of dark, medium, and light. I had a dark green, now a medium green, and then I'm going to do a light yellow. And what I like to do is have just a bit of highlight. So eyes are very responsive to lighting. So I'm only doing the dark green on one side of the eye, so you can really tell where the darker shadows are in those eyes. And then the other side of the eye, I'm keeping the strong, lighter highlights. Also, a little touch of white for, you know, a little extra pop. Make them look like they're gleaming. And, of course, the whiskers and the little stray hairs. You don't have to use the Flymax marker. You could also just use a white pencil. And then I'm just going to go back. Extra touches, and that's something I like to do, you know, when I'm getting closer to being done. I like to do some final touches just to push my highlights and my shadows. So right now I'm pushing the highlights with the white pencil, and in a minute I'm going to be pushing my shadows with a darker color. And again, I'll write down all my colors in the video description, so you don't have to guess. Everything will be written down for you. And there it is, my dark indigo blue. I go to that a lot when I want to push my shadows, and that's what I'm doing here. I'm going to use this same indigo blue to push the shadows in the cats and in the glass. Help unify the image a little bit with the shading. Get a little bit more crisp with my edges. Still applying the colors with the fur though. Every single time I go over that cat texture, I'm going in the direction of the fur to keep that texture. And now with the glass, keeping the texture or the feel of the glass with smooth strokes of color to get those the shadows. And that's it for today. Remember to subscribe to my channel so you don't miss my next video, and stay creative. Bye!